Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's ARC Facilities webinar, starting 2025 strong, streamlining facility operations with fast access to building information. My name is Indira Farah from the ARC Facilities Marketing Department. Before I get to the speaker, please note that we are recording this session and we will send an email to registrants in the next couple of business days with the recording link. Please feel free to type your questions into the Q&A panel as you think of them, and we'll address those at the end of our session today. So let's go ahead and introduce our speaker. David Trask is a keynote speaker, the host of the Facility Voices podcast, and our national director at ARC Facilities. David has spoken at major industry events like IFMA, APA, NFMT, and several regional events. He serves on the Facilithon Advisory Board and the IFMA World Workplace Education Committee, and travels quite a bit throughout the year, working directly with facilities teams across various industries. So David, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thanks, Indira, and thank you everybody for joining me today. And when we were talking about setting up this webinar and kind of the thought process behind it is, what are some of the things that you can do as an organization to really hit the ground running? Hit the ground running. We're in January here, and what are some ways and best practices that I've heard from around the country? And as Indira mentioned, I travel all the time. I actually just got back from Miami late last night, and I hear stories from people, things that are working, things that aren't necessarily working so great. But more importantly, it came down to best practices, things that people are doing that really make their lives easier, makes their team's lives easier. And we're going to jump right into that. And what that looks like is we're going to provide some tips for maximizing that efficiency of my team, of your team. And what are some of the ways that people are doing that? Also, how to respond faster when things go sideways, and they always go sideways. And I'll share some stories about how people are leveraging different technologies and different tool sets to make that happen. Also, techniques for improving that collaboration and that communication across your team, so everybody's on the same page. And then maximizing modern tools, new stuff that's coming down the pike to retain and recruit those people that you want to keep on your team and really build that cohesive team approach. And then what are some of those proven strategies for that long-term success? And we're going to jump in. So tips for maximizing that team efficiency really starts with, and this is something I hear all the time when in my travels, at conferences, and meeting with people like you. And it's, my team's digging. They're looking all over the place, trying to find stuff to do their job. They're going back and forth from the field to the office, but then they go from one building to the next building. They're just kind of running around all over the place. And it's a struggle, and it can be frustrating. It can be extremely frustrating when I need to go back and forth. I feel like it's, as an employee or as a field tech, I'm wasting time. It's not just time for the company, it's my time. Right? Because they take such pride in their job. But it really starts with this. They've got paper stuff. And I'll get into this a little bit further here in a minute, but everybody's got some sort of this. In most cases, I should say, people have got drawings all over the place. It's a mixed bag of stuff, or I've got stuff on a share drive. But this is what can happen if you're relying on that paper, okay? And this is a real story. Sprinkler had popped in a plan room. Documents were one of a kind. They were originals. Some of these buildings in this one for this one organization were over 100 years old. They were damaged and they're gone, okay? They're beyond repair. There isn't another copy, all right? That's what they've got. Well, sitting on a desk right next to a bunch of those drawings were thumb drives. Okay, they're ruined. They've got all these different formats of stuff, and the challenge was they're working right now on getting everything scanned in. But again, the challenge is scanning's not enough. What difference does it make if I scan it or it's in a plan room someplace if I still can't find the stuff, or I still got to run back from the field to a plan room, or I've got to run back to the office, jump on a laptop or a computer someplace. And then I'm opening up folders on a desktop someplace, and I open up a folder and somebody accidentally deleted the files, or they're not named. or they're not even in the right spot because they got filed away, or maybe they're on that thumb drive or that CD even. All right. That's not any better than this, okay, than the paper, right? The challenge is this is the problem, and this can also be a problem, right? Well, the solution really comes down to field access, being able to get access to that information on a roof, in a mechanical room, wherever the heck they are, from building to building, being able to fully access all my MEP drawings in the field on my phone. All right. Every person on your team has a smartphone these days, right? And being able to access it helps me be able to do my job, helps your team be able to respond quicker, make more intelligent decisions about what they need before they even get out there. And we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But it really starts out with having mapped as-builts too. So what I'm showing you here, just kind of paint a picture for you, is remember all those drawings that were in that plan room, right? Remember all those drawing sets that were in that desktop or on that share drive. Well, now they're here. And now they're not just organized in folders or even in a cubby someplace or a file cabinet. Now they're on my phone. And I could see where every renovation touched in my building, floor to floor. First floor, every renovation here is mapped out, showing it touched these rooms. And then you could click on those and it will show that actual renovation for the most recent renovation that happened to that part of the building, right? That's what it comes down to. But more importantly, in the field. My team can access that full MEP set. They need electrical drawings, boom, here they are. They need plumbing drawings, boom, here they are. And they're all sorted by date and area and floor. That's a big deal. I talk to facilities guys and gals, facilities technicians all the time. That's a problem for most of them. It's a real problem. And it's because they struggle trying to find stuff in that plan room, trying to find stuff in that share drive, or do they even have access? Again, you're going to hear me say this a lot. Time. I kept hearing that. My guys are wasting time. The guys and gals on my team are digging. They're trying to find stuff. It came down to time. Well, keep in mind too, all those renovations that happen in the building just means more piles, more drawings, more thumb drives, more stuff that I've got to dump on a share drive someplace. But every renovation also means something probably moved. Think about that. Could be a shutoff valve. It could be mechanical equipment. It could be any number of different things. Renovations means stuff moved, stuff changed. Well, with that comes more information. Now, if I get new drawings in, who has access to that? Is my field team having access to that quickly? And I'm going to talk a little bit further here in a little bit about communication between different departments, so everybody's on the same page. But again, renovations mean more stuff, more documentation. But this is what I oftentimes see from an export from either a work order system, or I even see it from a project closeout. This is the list of equipment, okay? Look at all those holes. Stuff just doesn't get captured. It could be time, could be what's written into scope. The GC is just not even going to give you a complete list, or I'm going to wait for months and months and months and still not get a complete list. But this is what you want. You want a full list, field verified, what's really in the field, right? Not this. This means I'm going to have to send one of my technicians on that roof to try and find that serial number, that model number. This means I can grab the stuff I need to go work on that device before I even go up on the roof. I can see, hey, this is the model number. What belt does that take? If this is the model number or serial number, oh, that's still under warranty. Oh, you know what? I'm going to look this up before I even climb that set of stairs or climb that ladder and pop that roof hatch and go back and forth because I don't know what the model number or where that piece of equipment's even located. I have access to all of that before I even get in the truck and drive over there or walk all the way across campus. Whatever. Everybody's on the same page looking at the current verified list of what's there. But here's the other challenge. 20 to 40% of the assets that are in the field have been replaced. Buildings are not all brand new, right? The stuff's being retrofitted. The things are changing in buildings all the time. Equipment's being decommissioned. It's moved. It serves more of an area or less of an area, or it's just brand new. Okay. But it's not documented in a lot of cases, or it's not a cohesive, everything's current, what's really out there, because it's a moving target. Let's face it. And I hear this all the time from folks. I actually just heard it yesterday. The other challenge is, how many times is your team going up and down a ladder, popping that ceiling tile, just trying to figure out where stuff's located? How many tiles are they popping trying to find that fan coil unit? How many times are they popping ceiling tiles trying to find that VAV? How many times are they popping that roof hatch, going up there and walking across the roof trying to figure out what that unit really is, right? Or you see that little stain on the ceiling grid there, right? That's where I hear a lot of times. I took that photo. Okay. It's they know that that's the tile, or right next to that tile is where the unit is, because there's a stain on the grid. I mean, come on, there's a better way. And we're going to look at what that can look like here in a minute. But again, see that stained ceiling grid. Okay. But the other thing that I oftentimes see is that picture off to the right. Again, I took all the pictures in this deck for the most part, but what's that red dot mean? What's that blue dot? Hot? Cold? Is that supply return? Is it chilled water supply return? Is it sprinkler? What does that mean? Just because it's a red dot, what does that mean? Just because it's a blue dot, what does that mean? What if it's purple? You know, what does that mean to you and your team? And more importantly, which tile do I pop? The one on the top or the one on the bottom? Again, it's my team's trying to figure out where stuff is. And this is what I oftentimes see. That there's also the process for capturing that institutional knowledge. The guys and gals on the team that just know where everything is. Well, that doesn't help the new person. So how do you capture that institutional knowledge? Well, the challenge with not capturing that is, what if that guy's on vacation? Can you get a hold of him? Well, a lot of that information also is walking out the door, whether they're retiring, they take another job. If you're relying on one or two people that just know where this stuff is, I call those single points of failure, right? You're relying on one or two people or a handful of people to just remember where stuff is, or everybody on the team calls that one person or two people on the team because they're the ones that might know where it is. Well, the more buildings you've got, the larger the properties that you've got, means the more stuff you have. It's impossible for one person to remember, or even a handful of people to remember where everything is. More buildings you've got, again, more stuff. So again, single points of failure. So when something goes sideways, it can go sideways quick, right? I just talked to an organization just yesterday. They were doing they were actually doing a generator test at their site, and they had a sprinkler head pop in one of the buildings adjacent to their generator room, right? It's dumping water. Then another one popped, right? And it's old building, right? It popped. It was so bad he had to go hit the emergency stop on the generator. This is a hospital, okay? Things can go sideways quick, right? It took them almost 8 hours to try and track it down. When you're in a hospital or critical care facility, okay, you can't just shut the water off all the time, right? If you're in a commercial building, it's a little easier. You go hit the main, but you can't do that in a hospital setting. It impacts the people in your building. In their case, it impacted patients, it impacted staff. But again, sprinkler head pops. You know, it was a Thursday, or I'm sorry, a Wednesday, right? That was yesterday. It can happen anytime, and it doesn't happen on your schedule. It happens when it goes sideways. So imagine this, though. So you've got all this different equipment, all these different things in your building, but you got everything mapped out. So you got all your mechanicals mapped out, floor to floor, building to building, and then you tap on one of them. Again, you're doing this from your phone, from your tablet, and you see all the details about that thing before you even go over there. In this case, it's a water heater. Okay. I see all the details, make, model, serial number. Where is it located? It's on a map. All right. I can see the manual. I can see the warranty, physical warranties. You can click on it and it opens up the warranty. But even more importantly than that, too, imagine you found a YouTube video on how to fix that thing. You can link to the YouTube video, right? I'm a firm believer, and it's funny because when's the last time you couldn't remember how to do something? You just looked it up on YouTube, and you'll see 100 videos on how to do X, whatever that is. That's what people are doing today. That's what your team is doing today. So you can link to all these different things, but more importantly, it's instant access to that critical information for that particular building, for that particular thing in your building. In this case, a water heater. I can see everything before I even jump in the car. But mapped and field verified and equipment and shutoffs is the way to go. It's got to be done and updated regularly. So field verified, labeled. Remember labeling that ceiling grid, not just a sticker, not just that red dot or that blue dot, but also putting in details. What ceiling tile do you pop? A photograph of that. Here in proximity to the door, here's the one you pop. Take a picture. Your team's already popping the ceiling grid. Take a photo of it, attach it to the equipment records. Now you know exactly which one you have to pop to see that particular unit that's up there. Not having to spend 20 minutes trying to figure out this one, that one, whatever. But you can also see exactly what you need, what's the make, model, and serial number. Also, what's the name of that unit before you even get up there. But also the ongoing maintenance, maintaining this, updating as you find stuff, right? Doing it live. You have a new renovation for a building, updating it. You have a new, you're replacing a new unit in the building, update it. You find something when you pop the ceiling tile and you see something else that's not documented, you document it. If you see it, document it. I am a firm believer. Every single person on your team probably has that smartphone. Arm them with the tools to be able to document it, not just take a photo. A photo's on my phone. A photo's not shared with everybody. Arming them with tools that allow them to be able to share it with everybody and document it for everything that they find that's not currently in your systems that you're doing today. And there are ways that you can do that and processes that you can do that. But everything's documented, but also available 24/7. 365 days. Okay. Everybody on your team, it doesn't matter. And I took these photos, but that photo in the upper left is me walking around with a hospital, mapping out stuff, even in the ORs, even in those critical spaces where you've got to dress up and go in there. Okay. With the shoe covers, the hair nets, everything. Right. But everything is documented. Where is it? What is it? And everybody can now access that 24/7. And even the newest person can do it. It's got to be easy where everybody can access it and everybody can update it. But I'm going to talk about this a little bit with regards to AI too, where I see AI helping not just leadership. Leadership, you're going to be able to use AI, especially in the future, with regards to predictive things, meaning budgets, equipment that's failing, being able to factor in a lot of different things from a monetary standpoint. Well, how's it going to help the field teams? The guys and gals that are in the field. I look at this a little bit different. Okay. Imagine your field teams getting suggestions, let's call it. So suggestions on, you know what, I just clicked on this unit and I want to see details about that unit, but all of a sudden I see, well, wait a minute. What if I before I even go out there, hey, did you know it takes this filter? Or did you know that there was a recall on this particular unit? Or maybe the thermostat is going bad on this unit. I knew it was going bad, but here's a YouTube video how to fix that. Okay, there's 5 of them, 10 of them, 100 of them, right? But it also uses belt XYZ, okay? Those are the ways that I think AI is going to really start helping the team by saying, you know what, while you're going up there and popping that roof hatch, before you go up there, hey, you might want to grab this belt. Or maybe you want to grab these filters. Or maybe it even goes back to a list in your inventory that says, hey, we don't even have any of these. AI is going to start to do that kind of stuff down the road here. And that to me is invaluable for the field teams, right? That's not a scary thing. That's, wait a minute, I never thought about that. Or, hey, you know what? This one has a problem with bearings. So it uses this bearing, or maybe it's this particular lube that we've got to use on those bearings. Or maybe there's an alternate belt that I can order for it, or here's a cheaper one. any number of different things. It's going to be able to help the field teams, right? But look at that thing off to the right. It's a phone. Being able to see that kind of stuff in my truck, being able to see that kind of stuff before I even jump in the golf cart and run over there, and seeing those kind of suggestions, I think is a big deal for those field teams. But also think about it from the perspective of having access to this information for the building when something is going sideways. It's going to help us respond faster during those emergencies, and getting access to that critical information so everybody's on the same page is key. So again, remember those changes we were talking about, those roles of drawings, and that also is impacting your emergency response. It's not just equipment that moves, it's shutoffs, isolation valves, it's electrical panels, all the stuff associated with that. Maybe it's your exit routes, your pathways, all of those different things are impacted when things are renovated and updated in your building. So that also means your emergency response is going to change. Well, that means also these emergency binders are going to have to change. So how often are you updating that information? And also, are you able to grab the new information that we were just talking about? So when a building changes, is that also being sent over to your emergency folks so that everybody is drilling on the current information? So we all know there's a number of different things that have been happening in the world. Unfortunately, these things go sideways quick. There's workplace violence, there's active shooter events, natural disasters, all of these different things that you see here, equipment failures, cyber attacks. But more importantly, I need my team to have access to all the information so that they can respond intelligently. Right? Be able to find current information for my building so they can respond faster. And again, you don't want to escalate that situation, but you want to be able to respond and be able to provide this information to those first responders as well. Well, this is impacting your business continuity. It can cause lost revenue, health and safety concerns. Access to building and equipment information is a big deal, right? But this is all part of your responsiveness to those things that are going sideways. But it also impacts building occupants, staff, visitors, patients in hospitals. Things can go sideways quickly that just can spiral. So you want to make sure that you have all the information to be able to respond faster, whether it's facilities or emergency management. Everybody's on the same page looking at current information. And the way you do that is, again, providing all of the building information to everybody. You want to see the information about a library? Boom, you click on a button that says library. Here's all the stuff for library, emergency contacts, your emergency documentation. That could be your binder, not and tucked away in somebody's office someplace behind lock and key. Everybody should be able to access that on your team. Everybody sees the current stuff. So if you change it once, it changes it across the board and everybody's looking at the same stuff. Shut-off plans, current floor plans, all those warranty information associated with things. But again, all that critical information about the current state of your building. So everybody's looking at the most recent stuff. True story. Okay. School, it's on a weekend and there's a unit on fire on a roof. The on-call person had been on the job for a couple of weeks. Right. They call the on-call number. She runs over there. Fire department saying, we need to find the electrical panel because we got to kill the power. So we put out the fire. She pulls up her phone. She goes, hey, it's in this room right here, unlocks the door and says, it's this one here, shows a picture to the person before they even go in there, say it's the second breaker on the right. They go in there, kill the power, put the fire out. Fire department says, how the heck did you do that? She goes, oh, I've got all my shutoffs all documented here for every single school. He says, what? She shows him all the different buildings, just like that. Boom, all my schools. Here's all of it. Now the fire department has access to all the shutoffs for their schools. Think about that. They were able to pull up in minutes, not hours, minutes, find a shutoff, kill the power, put out the fire, right? Things can spiral quickly if you don't have access to that critical information. She was able to do it. She's been there for a couple of weeks and knew where the shutoff was because she pulled her phone out of her pocket and able to show where every one of those shutoffs was in the building. That's what you can do with technology today. And it's a big deal. I look at that as time is money. Time is money, whether it's a fire, it's going to do more damage, whether it's water, it's like a gas pump, just running, running, running. Longer it runs, more money it costs. I need to shut that down quickly. Here's how I do it. And it starts with their phone. Everybody's carrying that phone around. So here's some techniques for improving that collaboration between your teams. Remember, we were talking about design construction facilities and everybody having access to all the different drawings, the full MEP sets, and we were talking about emergency. Well, let's think about, how do they all communicate? How do they all grab the same current information? How's everybody on the same page? I hear often there's silos, right? Information's all over the place. But challenges with that communication is teams are operating in those silos, which means I've got my stuff on my part of the share drive, or I've got my stuff in my office. I updated stuff over here. I forgot to tell everybody. Everybody's working out of these different buckets. And a lot of that comes down to they're working on paper. They're carrying around clipboards. They're carrying around notepads. They're writing it down on a sticky note. Those critical documents can oftentimes be misplaced too, right? You gave a set of electrical drawings or a section of electrical drawings to a contractor when they were in there, got damaged, or they just didn't bring it back, or maybe it ripped off part of it, right? Or it's outdated because, I can't find the most recent stuff because I'm still waiting on the stuff to come back from my contractor. I've been waiting for 8 months and I still haven't got it from him. But here's the other drawings that I've got. They're out of date, but they're probably close. Well, what changed? I'm not looking at the current information. It can be hard to find, or I can't access that stuff from home. I can't access stuff when I'm driving home. I can't access stuff when I'm on vacation. Why not? Well, some of the strategies for improving that is break down those silos. Stop it. I hear this all the time. Gosh, we've got parts of a share drive, or I've got stuff in this system, that system, whatever. All the stuff should be in one spot, centrally located in a platform. You can access all that stuff wherever the heck you are. Connected. Every department is connected, right? Every department has access. Get rid of that paper. Right? I cannot stress that enough. Get rid of that paper. Paper is stored someplace, and it's not stored where you are. Let me reiterate that. Paper is stored in a room someplace, and you have to go to that room to find it. You have to go back to that room to find it. It's not on the roof where you are right now. But it allows you, by getting everything digital and organized and accessible on those mobile devices or your desktop, wherever the heck you are, you should be able to access that. But if I'm on a roof, I want to access it. I need to be able to access it wherever the heck I'm at. I'm at home, being able to access that, retrieve that information anytime, anywhere. But it helps your team stay aligned. Everybody's on the same page. Everybody's looking at the same stuff. So if something changes in over here, everybody sees that change. Everybody's on that same page. Well, this is the way we've always done it. I hear this a lot. Okay, I heard it multiple times over the last year. This is the way we've always done it. But does that really mean that it's working today? Right? The guy on the left there is got manuals. He's got all this stuff associated with the unit, or maybe he's got a paper work order. The guy on the right's just got his phone and he's got his tools and he's up there fixing the thing because he's going up there because he knows what he needs before he even gets up that ladder. He grabs everything and just goes from job to job to job, and he knows what he needs before he goes to the next one. Well, is your team also carrying clipboards? So, what are you, and if they are, what's on that clipboard? Is it some kind of a checklist? Is it some kind of a form that they fill out, a daily rounds? What's on that clipboard? So I challenge you to do this. Think about what your team is using that clipboard for, or pay attention to what they're walking around with a clipboard. Okay. And I want you to kind of think of it this way. Okay. The guy in the upper left has a clipboard. He's entering whatever that is on that clipboard, and then he comes back to the office and a couple of things could happen. He hands it off to somebody else who has to enter it into a database someplace, or he hands it off, or he has to enter it himself. Okay. Well, if he mistypes, right? How long is that? Again, I'm talking about time here. You're seeing 1 step, 2 steps. Well, now I'm in leadership and I need to find that information, right? And it's wrong. It just wasn't updated. I didn't have time to update it. So now I'm working off of information that's not current from the field and not entered. Well, that causes that frustration. That guy in the field goes up and down that ladder 4 times because he doesn't have the information, or, oh, shoot, I forgot this, or shoot, I forgot that, right? It's frustrating. What mobile technology allows you to do is have everybody on the same page. So if you see something, you document it. If you need something additional or you find something out, you document it. So now the next guy or gal coming up behind you isn't digging. They're not trying to find that information about that thing. That could be drawings, that could be mechanical equipment, that could be any number of shutoffs, any number of different things. Everybody's able to do updates live. Okay, well, here's a few examples of that. These are some of the things I've seen on these clipboards. Daily rounds forms. This is actually from a hospital. This is a 10-page form, 10 pages. Well, look at that where it says reading. Okay, that column that says reading there. That's first, second, and third shifts. They have 3 shifts filling out this same form. 3 shifts, right? First shift fills out a form. He checks all his boxes. He puts in his readings. Second shift does the same thing. They're not even using the same form. Third shift does the same thing. Okay, think about that. Now I have 30 pages, 30 pieces of paper that have to either be manually entered. Even if I had 1 set of paper and the first shift hands it to second shift hands it to third shift, it's 10 pages daily. Okay, daily. This is a hospital, right? Do that math in your head. That stuff gets filed into a filing cabinet someplace, or someone has to manually enter all of this stuff daily. No, you can do that on your phone. Editable forms. Check this off, boom, 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 boom. Hit save. It's automatically posted. Everybody sees it. That's what you can do on your phone today. Well, think about it from a grounds perspective, or even equipment inspections. All of those, the one on the right, they're doing weekly inspections to all of their vehicles, documenting all that stuff, taking a picture, associating or taking that picture and attaching it to the form, all in one step. Fill it out, check boxes, not having to type a whole bunch of stuff out. Even imagine being able to voice something in. Right. Same thing with grounds, being able to document all of their grounds equipment, all their mower inspections. They find stuff that they got to replace. These aren't work orders. These are just inspection checklists that this org is actually walking around, and they are actually documenting on paper. Now it's all digital. Everything's in one spot. Okay. The other thing that they're able to do is fire extinguisher inspections. You can actually inspect all your fire extinguishers and do all these forms that they were doing paper, all digital, all on their phone. Okay, imagine walking up to a door or walking up to an extinguisher, scanning QR code, and it automatically opens up this form. Same thing with the other forms I was talking about. Walk up to a building, scan a QR code, opens up the form, they fill out their stuff, hit submit, it emails a copy to leadership. They hit submit, it saves a copy into the folder for this particular building. That's what you can do. All that paper goes away, just like that. You can do that today. Custodial checklist, same thing. What did I do in this building? What happened in this building? What did I find in this building? Take pictures of anything they find. You could think about those checklists that your team is walking around. Think about those things that they're walking around with that clipboard, and now they can do it all on their phone. That's what you can do with some of the new technologies today. Well, how do we maximize those tools to recruit and retain people, right? When you're trying to hire somebody, one of the first things that they always look at is how much paperwork is involved in my job. I do. I always thought about that. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to enter it here, and I have to enter it here, and I have to enter it here. No, you're able to show them, listen, we're forward thinking, we're forward leaning. We're leveraging technology, make your life easier to minimize you're running around trying to find new stuff. But the new hire has access to all that information day one. They know where every shutoff is in your building. They know where every piece of mechanical equipment is in your building. They know where every drawing set is in your building. They can fill out a form electronically. all in that iPad in her hand that you give her first day she starts. And now she knows where everything is and she can do her job all right there. No more clipboards, no more walking with people for 8 months, a year, 18 months, trying to find stuff to do their job. They know where all this stuff is day one. Now they can focus on those core things like doing their job. But sharing that information out real time is a big deal. Okay. So guy in the office down there in the bottom, he gets a call, something goes sideways. He calls the guy who's sitting in his truck, who could then relay the information to the guy who's on the roof, or relay the information to the guy who's in the mechanical room. Everybody's on the same page, but every person there is looking at the same stuff. That's what you can do. That is a team collaborative approach. Everybody's looking at the same stuff. There's no guessing. Am I looking at the right stuff? Everybody's on the same page looking at the same stuff and sharing that information out real time, live. Those people are not in the same spots. They're all over this campus and everybody's on the same page looking at the same stuff. But it starts with these things: as-built maps, having all your drawings all in one spot. Everybody can see the current stuff and all the historical changes that have happened in your building. Okay. Mapped shutoffs. All the technicians can see full shutoffs, gas, water, power, med gas if you're in hospital, all of them in one location, all available on their phone with photos, names of the panels, what areas of the buildings. They can have those added in as to what parts of the building they serve. But everybody can see all of that. How do I get to that location where that panel is? Because I can see it mapped out on a floor plan exactly where that panel is. And all of them on the same page. Okay, new technicians. The technician has been there for a long time. Remember, it's impossible for them to remember where every electrical panel is, where every shutoff is. I walk with guys that have been with organizations for 30, 40 years. I was talking to one electrician recently, and I was doing some training with him, and I was doing a site walk with him. He had been there for 32 years. Okay, 32 years. And I counted on, I was on one hand, I went to the second hand, I just stopped counting how many times he said, I didn't even know that panel was there. It was in an IDF room, or it was tucked behind a door, or we're walking down a hallway and somebody painted over it, right? I didn't know that panel was there. Lead electrician, he'd been there for 32 years. That guy didn't know that panel was there, or he didn't know that panel moved. It's impossible for that guy to remember where everything is. They got 50 buildings, 50, all right? You expect that guy to remember where everything is in every single building? Well, what about the new person? Every person on the team would have access to this stuff all on their phone, every single site. Okay. So additional methods for capturing people, retaining people, and maintaining that continuity of your team is create some different things to help them move up. Career ladder programs. That's a big deal. Give them a pathway to grow. Have you looked at bonus programs, whether it's a monthly, quarterly, annually based bonus program based off of your performance? Also, I've heard a lot of folks are starting to offer floaters or even additional PTO. Those teammates that you've got, or those people on your team that you've got that are just busting their hump. They are kicking butt, they're taking names, and they are going above and beyond. You know how much it means to them to get an extra, go home today. I'm going to call you up. You busted your behind. Take a long weekend. That goes a long way to motivate your team. But also those team building exercises. I heard a lot of people that are really starting in their monthly or even their weekly meetings, carving out 15, 20 minutes during that call to do some kind of a team building thing. Get your electrician to get up there and say, you know what? Hey, I uncovered X and this is what I did to fix it. Or that plumber says, you know what? We ran into this problem and we realized that this is the thing we had to do to fix that, or we found something in the building and this is what we did, right? It's that collaborative team building approach. Now that it's not relying on one guy, everybody knows these little tips and tricks about your building to really help the next man or woman up on your team succeed. That's a big deal. So here's some proven strategies that I've heard for long-term success. Okay. Things to remember and really to kick off your new year, right? Save time. Time, I've said it how many times during this call? Time, time, time. Your team never has enough time. They're always running around like crazy. By providing them instant access to that building information is going to give them the ability to reclaim part of that time and get more done. Maybe they can do more PMs because you gave them some time back. It also is going to help them to be emergency ready, right? Be able to respond when something's going sideways intelligently, knowing what ceiling tile to pop, knowing what part of the building they need to go to shut off this or to get the air up and running, or God forbid, the emergency generator up and going. They know exactly what those procedures are because they can access it quickly on their phone through their phone and instantly share that information out. It also is going to boost that team collaboration. Everybody's on the same page, streamlining that communication workflow so everything's running smoother. It also helps you to attract and retain people. When you show that you're a forward-leaning organization and you show, hey, we've armed you with some tools that are really going to help you take some of that guesswork out, but also get those new hires up to speed faster. That's a big deal. You hit the ground running and you're arming them with tools to be able to hit the ground running and do more right out of the gates. Okay. Focus on what matters. Look at the inefficient things that you're doing and prioritize those strategic initiatives. Okay. Think about if I can get more time back or I can really focus my team on doing those core value things and core things that I need them to do. It's going to give me time back on my team to be able to have them do some other things that might help us with those inefficiencies, or even to check off some more of those boxes that I've got for this year. Also, this allows you to plan for that long-term success. Leverage those strategies, leverage those things that are successful and minimize those things that aren't. Okay. Arming your team with tools that'll help them hit the ground running this year. I think that should be the underlying theme. So, Indira, let's open it up to some questions.
Yes, thank you, David. Great informative presentation. Audience, you can continue typing your questions, and I'm going to go ahead and get right into it here, David. I've got a couple questions that are similar, so I'll ask them together. So the first one is, how long does it take to document and map all this stuff? It seems like a lot of work. I have limited resources. And then there's a second question that is, are the updates to be done by our staff, or is that done by ARC sending the information?
Yeah, in this case, we do all the updating. We do now the onesie twosies. We train your team how to update stuff. Now, again, I'm talking about our platform here, but at the end of the day, our team goes out and does site walks, and we map all this stuff out. Okay, we're grabbing the information. We're walking with your key stakeholders, your key teammates. It's very little effort on their team, but we do need some help on those hidden things. We get an equipment list from somebody, but we'll still go out and map out and then go into those mechanical rooms and identify the things that are missing and then fill in those holes. Okay. A lot of the information that I see from facilities is piecemeal. Some's over here, some's over there. We connect all those dots so that the team can access them. And then we turn it over and train the team how they can update some things as they go. But if it's a major renovation, we come back out.
Awesome. And then how long, the other question was, how long does it document?
Certainly.
How long does it take to document and map the stuff?
Yeah, it really depends on your site, but most of the time we're seeing between 90 and 120 days is a traditional implementation. Obviously, if you've got 400 to 500 buildings, we do it in phases. But again, each phase, we knock them out and we prioritize based off of your needs.
Great. And I just want to address, I've got a lot of people asking if we're going to share the recording, and we are. Everybody will receive an email from ARC Facilities by either tomorrow or Monday, and you'll have the recording of this webinar. The next question I have here is, what is the name of the software you're showing, David?
Oh, this is ARC Facilities. That's what I was showing here. These are just some of the ways that our clients were using it. But a lot of the stories I was sharing too are prospective clients that we're also engaged with.
Okay, and then I have another question. How does the system work with limited Wi-Fi?
Yeah, ours has offline access. So you can download and sync everything directly onto your mobile device. And then any updates or changes that you make offline are automatically uploaded once you get back into Wi-Fi range or cell range. And I know exactly why you're asking that is I go into mechanical rooms or I go into basement. We were actually just on site at a hospital, had tunnel systems between the different buildings underground. We were able to access all the information and document it offline. As soon as we got back on Wi-Fi, it automatically pushed it up into the cloud and out to all the devices. So it's that offline access that is the big deal too. Being able to access that information wherever the heck I'm at.
Right, okay. And then the next question I have, can I add information on my own, like paint colors in a room?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And we have in our system anyway, we have a system called, or an area called other maps and resources that can be dedicated spaces for different departments that are outside the box. Like I've got some that are for paint. I've got some that are for custodial, that they've got their own designated folders for their stuff. And those folders are maps where they can map out their specific things. 100%.
This looks like a follow-up question to that. Do I need to pay to add markers or notes of my own?
No, 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 no. You can add whatever you want. You can attach documentation. You can attach videos. You can even take photos of the actual paint, the can. You can also attach videos to that. Like for instance, if it's, I'm always a firm believer, it's great straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak. If somebody uncovers something, they can record a little video of, hey, you've got to go do this X, Y, and Z that's outside the box, and it's in my own words telling you how to do it. And I hit save, and everybody sees that video or everybody sees my notes.
Awesome. Next thing I have here is, I'm assuming this could be used for monthly, quarterly, or semi-annual or annual PMs.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah. And that's that form that I showed earlier, that 10-page form. That's a daily rounds. I've got other orgs that are using it for monthly. You saw the fire extinguisher form as well. You could do it based off of whatever your need is, and it's unlimited forms.
Right. I have another question here. We have a lot of guys walking around with clipboards, and it's a huge pet peeve of mine. Is there a limit on the number of forms and who creates them if all I have is a paper copy?
It's my pet peeve too. But yeah, yeah, there is no limit, first of all, on the number of forms. I'll tell you a real quick story. So there was a guy that I talked to, and he said he made it against, he would send guys home if they had that little spiral notebook in their shirt pocket. He just would send them home. He said, I told you, document it. And it was documenting it in this case, it was our system. But if they were walking around with that spiral notebook, that meant they were writing something down that only he could see. And he wants them to be able to access it and enter it right here. So he would show them, this is how you do it. And we would, train their team. But at the end of the day, no more walking around with that information. It shouldn't all be in one or two people's heads. Everybody should be able to document stuff and hit save, and everybody can see it.
Awesome. And then I have another question. Can this be set up for third parties to use and only have access to information or checklists that they would need?
Yeah, I've had a few companies that have done that. So we set up vendor groups or user groups within the system, and we can set up a little area where they can only access a particular thing. So for instance, we can share out links to things and they can only download that information. But I've had other clients that have said, listen, we treat our vendors almost like another employee. So they'll give their vendors access, and then we train their vendors also how to fill out those forms. And where I see that a lot is like they'll outsource HVAC or maybe VAV maintenance. So that VAV vendor or that HVAC vendor will have access to the system, and then they can use their own forms, and we convert those forms over to them. We've got a lot of clients that'll have that paper form, and they'll send me a photo of that form, and they'll send me a PDF of that form. Our team converts them over to editable forms, and now everybody can access that. And we load them into the system for them.
Great. Another question that might be related is, can the information be shared with emergency services or first responders?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. My dad's a retired first responder, 50 years in fire department, and you can share it out with any of your first responders, your local, city, state. You can share it out with anybody. But the thing that's great about it is, incidents happen whenever they happen. They happen in the middle of the night. I can roll out of bed, grab my phone, and I can take a screen capture, even do markups in the system and text it to the person who's standing in the doorway before I even put my pants on getting out of bed. I can access it. I have one client of ours that was something went sideways. He was about an hour from the hospital, and something went sideways. They got alerts, and he pulls his car over, pulls his phone out of his pocket, and was texting them where the main was to kill the main to the building. All right. He did that while he was pulled over alongside the road, and again, it's the security guard went over, and he doesn't know the building inside and out. He's brand new. He texted him, here's where it is. And he's on the phone with the guy, and he was able to show them visually, this is where it is. This is what you've got to do, because he marked it up and circled it. That's the button you got to hit.
That's amazing. Another question here is, would this app or documentation be recognized by the Joint Commission?
Yeah, we actually have for you're talking about healthcare. So we actually have a compliance module that is all the Joint Commission requirements are in there. And yes, we actually have the ability to house all of the documentation associated with the Joint Commission requirements. So you can have all that information in there and then pull it up when the Joint Commission comes in and does their survey.
Great. Another question I have here is, we have locations in multiple states. Can I see all sites, and or can I limit who can access specific sites?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, you can see all your sites all in one app. You can be able to open it up and see all your sites. Click on a site and you'll see just that site. You can also assign user groups to a specific site, 100%, to a specific campus, even a building. You can drill it down into the building level, and they can see just that building.
Great. There's another question here. In the example you shared about fire departments having a login now, does the school district have to pay to add them?
No, ours is unlimited users. So I can set up another user group and just add that as your first responders. And you can select what sites that they need to have access to as well. But you can also email them or even text message them the sheets or the floor plans right to the first responder. It's kind of tricky with first responders because you don't know which first responder is going to roll up. So police, is it going to be state, county, city, or even the which shift is going to be rolling up from the fire department. So if they call that number, you can text message to the guy who's actually standing there, because that first responder has a cell phone too.
Great, great. And then I have another one here. My buildings are always changing, and I have about 80 active small and large projects going on at my hospital any given year. Is there a fee for every update that we do?
No, as long as you're not adding square footage, if it's within the square footage that's in our scope, it's included. So you renovate a building that's in the same exact square footage, we just update all the drawings, and we come back out and map it out.
Awesome. Gosh, so many good questions, David. We did get a few people asking if they could see more of the software. I entered a link in the chat that goes directly to what we call the request a demo. And that's a great place for you to just fill out the form, and a team member will just give you a call, and that way you can get whatever questions you have answered, and then determine if it makes sense to, continue the conversation. Of course, David can also answer any questions you have. You can connect with him on LinkedIn or send him an email as well. I think that's all the questions we have right now. Now, if I missed any questions, I will see, I'll be able to see those later, and I'll make sure that we reach out to you individually to answer those questions. So David, thank you so much for a great presentation today. I want to just remind everybody, we are going to send a follow-up email. If not tomorrow, it'll be Monday, and you'll receive a recording of this session and some additional resources. I also want to remind everybody that we do have a couple of really great webinars coming up in February and in March, and you can find those on our website by clicking. So go to arcfacilities.com, click on resources and select webinars, and you'll see all of the different webinars that are coming up, and you can go ahead and register for those. And we can also include that in our follow-up email. So, David, do you have anything else before we wrap up?
No, thank you so much for all the questions. Those were great, and happy to answer any questions that I can. I can share best practices that I've heard with literally hundreds of different people, and happy to do it. So reach out if you need anything.
Awesome. And don't forget to check out the Facility Voices podcast with David Trask. It's a great podcast. You can find it on all the major platforms or just check it out on our website under resources. So thank you everybody so much for spending the time here with us today. And we hope to see you at the next webinar. Take care, everybody.